December 10th, 2020, in America, thousands of miles away from us here in Nigeria, a young man was killed. His name is Brandon Bernard. And why did Brandon Bernard die? Or what killed or what happened to Brandon Bernard? Welcome to today's episode of What Does the Law Say with Arike Mudile. Before you move on, please like, share, subscribe, and drop your comments and your questions in the comment section. What Does the Law Say is proudly sponsored by Tech Hub Media. In today's episode, we'll be discussing about capital punishment, which is also known as death penalty in various countries. We also want to look at the school of thoughts of different people, majorly two groups. One person says, abolish the death penalty. Another group says, retain the death penalty. And we're looking at why, this school of thought have chosen this part, and I'll also be saying my opinion to you. So now, right into this video, what exactly is even the reason why I'm talking about this? What's the reason why I've chosen this topic today? So on December 10th, last week Thursday, it was International Human Rights Day. Happy International Human Rights Day to every lovely human being out there. All right, so on that same day, December 10th, 2020, in America, thousands of miles away from us here in Nigeria, a young man was killed. His name is Brandon Bernard. And why did Brandon Bernard die? Or what killed or what happened to Brandon Bernard? So sometime in 1999, Brandon was 18 years old at that time, and he got involved in a crime. So based on the reports that I have and what I read, I'm going to give you a background story of what happened to Brandon. So Brandon was just a victim of circumstance, if you will call it that. According to the story, there was a gang that tried to rob two missionaries. They put those missionaries into the trunk and then, tried to rob them, realized they didn't have money. So they decided that, okay, they would drop the missionaries at a military base and then pull them out and bomb the car to take off all the fingerprints. Along the line, or when they were headed to the military base, they picked up Brandon. And when Brandon got there, when they all got to the military base, the leader of the gang told Brandon to set the car ablaze, and then he did that. It was based on this offense that Brandon was imposed a death penalty. So now, that's the background story where I'm talking about this, because it's like, what? In America, they're still practicing death penalty? Wow, who would ever have thought that in America, death penalty is still going on? So let's even look at what exactly is death penalty, what is capital punishment, what does it mean, how does it work? So the dictionary meaning of capital punishment is the legally authorized killing of someone as punishment for a crime. So if the authorities, the law, legally authorize that a person be killed because of the crime the person commits, that is a capital punishment. And usually capital punishments are death penalties. That means they sentence the person to death. Say that, for this thing that you've done, the punishment is that you're meant to die. And usually death penalties are executed in ways such as beheading, stoning, electrocution, firing squad. Okay, so those are methods of execution that I just listed. Also, death penalty can be defined as a sentence of death for a serious crime or punishment by execution. So usually when a capital punishment is imposed on a criminal or on a felon, it is usually the death penalty. So the capital punishment can be seen as death penalty, or death penalty can be seen as the capital punishment. All right, so in what instance is the capital punishment imposed? In what instance do they impose a death penalty? For instance, in terms of offense of murder or treason or treasonable felony or armed robbery, as the case may be in different laws and different countries across the world. Quick facts. So this fact is from Amnesty International. You can always visit their website, amnesty.org, to get more facts about the statistics of death penalty across the world or in all countries in the world. So according to Amnesty International, 657 executions happened in 20 countries in 2019. According to Amnesty International, 106 countries had completely abolished the death penalty in law, and 142 countries had abolished the death penalty in law or practice. So, and Amnesty International also recorded that most of the methods of execution that were used in 2019, were just what we mentioned before: beheading, electrocution, hanging, lethal injection, execution by firing squad, and stoning. So what's the difference between imposing a death sentence and execution of that death sentence? So when they impose the death sentence, it means that the court has already stated, has already given its verdict that that criminal, that felon, that person found guilty has the punishment of a death penalty, or give the person a death sentence. They said, okay, that your punishment for the crime committed is a death sentence. So that's when they impose the death sentence on the person. Okay, and then to say you execute the death sentence means that that death sentence has been imposed, you carry it out, you do it. So for instance, when they give a verdict or give a judgment for a felon that has committed murder, they say, okay, that upon found guilty, the person has been sentenced to death, for instance, and then 20 years from now, just like it happened with the story I mentioned earlier, they now execute that death sentence by killing the person with one of the methods I mentioned earlier. Then they would have executed the death sentence. So let's bring it back home. Let's bring it back to Nigeria. What's going on in our country? Is the death penalty still existing in Nigeria? Are death penalties still imposed on people? The answer to that is yes. So most times we hear that when a death sentence is imposed on a person or on a felon, the governors of the state usually don't want to sign for them to execute that person because they don't want blood on their hands. That's what the story has always been in Nigeria. But death penalty is still going on in various parts of the country. It might not happen in practice such that they execute the person, but they still impose that death sentence in Nigeria. Just as it's happening in Nigeria, it's happening in different countries all over the world. In China, in Iran, in Saudi Arabia, there have been various numbers of people that have been given the death sentence, some that have been reported, some that have not been reported. So you want to ask, is it fair? Is it fair on the victim? Is it fair on the person that might have been killed or might have been a victim of another person's bad behavior or bad character? Is it fair on any of them? So now we're going to dive into the school of thought of two different groups. The people that say abolish the death penalty and the other people that say retain it. The people that say abolish the death penalty, have their own reasons. You have a right to life, and the Constitution says every person has a right to life. Even if also in that same Constitution, it provides that your right to life is general. That means don't deny any person of their life, but they can take a person's life if that person has taken the life of another. That same Constitution also provides that you have a right to life and should not deprive another person of their own life. If you do that, then upon conviction, the person might get a capital punishment. Secondly, the school of thought that says that abolish it, that is the abolitionists, also say that, this death penalty is inhumane, the treatment is degrading, and the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as provided for in Section 34, it is unconstitutional to treat a person in an inhumane and degrading manner. So they have the opinion that, abolish death penalty because you are treating human beings in a degrading manner. They also have the opinion that it is physical torture to make people sit down in an electric chair or make people go through inject people with the lethal injection is also very, degrading and is seen as physical torture. Now, that's the opinion of the abolitionists, those that want death penalty to be abolished. Now, so what is the school of thought of those that say that death penalty be retained? So they are of the opinion that even if you have a right to life, it is constitutional and is legal, because the Constitution provides for it. You have a right to life so long as you don't deprive another person of their own life. If you deprive another person of their own life, then your own life will be taken. So they say, oh, well, it is constitutional and legal for you to impose the death penalty if that person has taken the life of another person. Also, they have the opinion that an eye for an eye. I don't know about that one. And then they also think that, well, if you impose the death penalty, you purify the environment, you take out all the bad blood, You know, if someone kills another person, why retain the person in the community? Take them out of the community, take them out of the system, you know, make sure they do not infect other people. Also, they have the school of thought that if you make a lesson out of these criminals or out of these felons that have, you know, committed an offense, then you preserve other people from doing that. So that's the school of thought of these two groups. The world is made up of 195 countries, and just 106 have abolished the death penalty in law, and 142 have abolished the death penalty in law and in practice. So what are the alternatives, and what is my own opinion? So my own opinion, I would think that the death penalty be abolished. So when I read a story about Brandon Bernard, I was emotional. I was moved to tears that, you know, a young boy at that age, just a teenager, is still trying to live life and, you know, trying to get around, and he got entangled in this. Yes, I know you might be quick to say, oh, what about the persons that he burnt? What about the people that they killed? I know that part. We can't take that part away. If a person commits an offense or commits a crime, he should be punished for it, and there is no doubt about that. Now, so why do I think that the death penalty itself should be abolished? Because of so many cases of wrongful conviction. You know, I mean, in Nigeria, I do not even think that they even try people correctly. You know, you can get to the criminal justice system sometimes hurriedly try a person, you know, don't bring out all the evidence that needs to be brought out, and sometimes people just go to jail for nothing. There are people in prison in Nigeria that they've not even tried them, they've not heard their case at all. And so you wonder that if the criminal justice system is this messed up, why now still impose a death sentence, or why now still impose the death penalty? I also am of the opinion that there are alternatives to this. There is an alternative to, you know, death penalty. I'll leave that part to the end of the video to say the alternative. If you've not subscribed, don't forget to subscribe, like, and then share. So my second opinion is that, you know, this inhumane treatment, just as the school of thought of the abolitionists had posed and put forward, that, you know, that inhumane treatment, just knowing that somebody's going to sit in an electric chair and, you know, light's going to go through their body till they die, is emotional for me personally. Lastly, I'm of the opinion that the death penalty should be abolished, because in my opinion, are you really punishing that person? Are you really punishing the offender? If they die, have they really served punishment? I mean, except if he's given some years imprisonment first before he's executed. So now, what is the alternative in my own opinion? I think the alternative to death penalty is life imprisonment. For a country like America, it can be life imprisonment without parole, and that means you don't have any chance of coming out at all, ever. Well, they can also say in their system that who's going to pay for all that, you know, running of the prison and everything. But I think that's better to keep the person in prison for life, just because you might find out that he was wrongfully convicted, just because it might be a case of mistaken identity, you know, and you might save a life that way. Breaking news, in America, there are more federal executions that are going to happen. I read that 13 more federal executions are going to happen before the inauguration. And it for me personally, it breaks my heart, because I think that people do not have to, you know, die because of the offense they've committed. I know that they may have killed a person's loved one, they may have killed a person's friend, and that's painful. But, you know, in the real sense, you can't take that away. You can't bring that back. And if there's any way that, you know, they don't have to die, maybe just by keeping them in prison for a long time, it will go a long way. So the question now will be, which side are you on? Or, you know, what school of thought are you for? Or, you know, what's your opinion? Do you think that death penalty should be abolished? Or do you think that the death penalty should be retained? And if for whatever reason, tell us why you think that, or tell me why you think that, you know, it should be abolished or be retained. Thank you very much for watching this episode of What Does the Law Say? Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and drop your comments and your questions. What does the law say? I'll tell you next Thursday.